So Interfaith Sanctuary is not backing down in their fight to move their shelter to West State Street out of downtown Boise. More than a month after their conditional use permit was denied by Planning and Zoning, well, they're getting their appeal heard this week by Boise City Council. Today begins that lengthy process of hearing arguments and public testimony all over again. Katya Stepovic has been following this move or potential move from the start. And Katya, so they've had that appeal denied, or I mean, they've had the conditional use permit denied. Now they're in the appeal process. What changes between what they've been through and what happens tonight?
Well, Brian, this has been a lengthy process. There's no doubt about it. We're about an hour in and they're still hearing from Boise Fire Department. But Boise City Council tonight is going to hear from Veterans Neighbor Park Association, Interfaith themselves, as well as staff from Planning and Zoning Commission. But like we've always talked about for so long now, this has been almost a year and a half of back and forth, and it took us a lot of steps to get to where we are. And I want to lay that out for our viewers. So we put a little bit of a timeline together. Take a look at this. In January 2021, Interfaith held their first virtual meeting with Veterans Park Neighborhood Association. Interfaith purchased the building on West State Street in April of 2021 and also submitted an application for a conditional use permit. Now, Mayor McLean paused the project in June of 2021 following tensions, of course, between neighbors and Interfaith. Shelter Better Task Force was created to try and find a compromise, a potential new location even for the shelter. Now, that was an eight-week process that went into late August. Now, in October 2021, Interfaith resubmitted their application for a conditional use permit. In December of 2021, Planning and Zoning Commission took up the application and heard public testimony, and that was over a month and a half long. Finally, in January 2022, Planning and Zoning denied Interfaith's application for a conditional use permit, which brought us to where we are today. Interfaith submitted their appeal to that denial in February. And of course, this is going to be a weeks-long process. I'm hearing maybe even into Monday. They are not going to hear any public testimony tonight. That's going to start tomorrow. No new public testimony will be allowed. It's going to be everyone who talked in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission in January. So lots to come and potentially a decision on Monday, Brian.
That's interesting. So no new public testimony, just what people have already said for or against this project will be heard. Okay, that is interesting. All right, thank you very much, Katya. And so this is also a question we get as we do this story on Interfaith Sanctuary. Why can't they just move to a different building? They see all these empty buildings around town. I guess the simple answer to that is they're so far into this process, but we were told if those buildings were available, well, they might be a consideration. But a lot of times they're either not or they cost way too much money. And they're this far into this process, they're going to try to see it through to the end.